The greatest mystery in our skies just got stranger.
It came from the same patch of sky as the infamous WOW signal, a ghost that has haunted astronomers for decades. But this time, it's not a signal, it's an object. A mysterious interstellar body named 3I Atlas is surrounded by what appear to be metallic objects and is now hurtling toward the sun. But the most shocking fact is what it's leaving behind. A trail of impossible chemical readings in a repeating intelligent pattern. Scientists are baffled, governments are silent, and the Space Force is mobilizing. We're about to show you the evidence that suggests this isn't just a visitor but a scout. The harbinger from Sagittarius. From the moment it was first detected, 3I Atlas was already defying everything we thought we knew. You see, it was initially just a speck, a line of light crossing a digital sky. But it very quickly became something else. An object had entered our solar system, and it was moving fast, to put it mildly. At a speed exceeding 61 kilometers per second, it was faster than any known asteroid or comet in our cosmic neighborhood. By the time we got a good look, it was already well inside Jupiter's orbit and closing in on the Sun. But its speed wasn't the only anomaly. What many overlooked at first was its trajectory. It was almost too perfect. It followed a narrow, calculated path that just so happened to align precisely with the plane of our solar system's planets. A geometric coincidence so rare it's practically a statistical impossibility, and it immediately raised red flags. The thing nobody tells you is that interstellar objects usually enter at chaotic, random angles. But 3I Atlas moved like it had a flight plan, skimming the ecliptic as if it were following pre-programmed waypoints. Its path would take it dangerously close to Mars, giving our orbiters a perfect window to watch it before it loops around the Sun. But here's the kicker: it will never come close to Earth. Our planet will be on the opposite side of the Sun during its closest approach, almost as if it were intentionally avoided. This is where the quiet suspicions in labs and observatories began to grow into loud, urgent conversations. As astronomers looked deeper, they traced its origin back to a section of sky that has haunted researchers for decades: Sagittarius. This is the exact same region that back in 1977 emitted a powerful, unexplained radio burst known only as the WOW signal. Many people are crazy about that signal, and for good reason. It was our first hint that something out there might be trying to talk. Now, another mystery from the same direction is here. But this one isn't silent. But its strange path was only the first clue that something was deeply wrong. What would come next would turn this mystery into a potential crisis. As 3I Atlas neared the inner solar system, scientists trained the world's most advanced instruments on it, including the Very Large Telescope in Chile and the James Webb Space Telescope itself. And you can see this everywhere in science. When you get a better tool, you find things you were never prepared for. When sunlight heats a comet, its ices turn to gas and its metals vaporize. This process should release gases like iron and nickel together, always together, because that's how they form inside stars. But not this time. Webb detected nickel gas but almost no iron. This is a highly unnatural separation, as if something was selectively releasing only one metal while keeping the other locked away. This finding alone sent shockwaves through the astrophysics community. Even more bizarre was the presence of cyanide. While it's common in comets, the amount spiked far too rapidly for the object's distance from the Sun. This wasn't a slow, gentle warming. It was a sharp, almost explosive chemical release. The most shocking fact is that this kind of reaction isn't normally associated with rocks or ice, but with engineered materials under extreme stress. Some experts, like Harvard astrophysicist Avi Loeb, have publicly stated that we might not be looking at a natural object at all. But then there's the light. Normally, a comet shines by reflecting sunlight. Based on its brightness, 3I Atlas should be larger than Manhattan Island. Yet our measurements show it's much smaller, meaning it might be producing its own light. An idea that breaks every known model of interstellar bodies. Artificial light in deep space is something we only associate with our own spacecraft and satellites. It's a signature of technology. As if an unnatural glow and impossible chemistry weren't enough, scientists then detected a pulse buried in the noise. A pattern in the noise. And then came the signal. It was a faint pulse buried deep in the spectral data, one that didn't match any known natural emission, solar flare, or cosmic background source. At first, it was dismissed as interference, but as Webb's data continued to pour in, the pattern repeated itself. It was a non-random pulse, mathematically structured, echoing at intervals too precise to be a fluke of nature. Scientists began comparing it to historical signals, and what they found was deeply unsettling. Not only did the new pulse share a similar frequency band with the WOW signal, but it came from the exact same region of space. But this time, the signal wasn't a distant ancient echo. It was riding along with 3I Atlas, as if the object wasn't just emitting light and gas, but communicating. This is the moment the story went dark. You see, as public curiosity grew, a strange shift happened behind the scenes. NASA's real-time mission trackers for 3I Atlas suddenly went offline. The European Space Agency's telescope logs were suspended. Archived Webb data began returning access-denied messages. Whispers of a data anomaly lockdown started to circulate. Then, according to anonymous sources, the United States Space Force, alongside defense departments in Europe, began classifying all data on the object as Level 1 strategic intelligence. This is the same tier used for nuclear telemetry and direct threats to orbital security. The implication is that they saw something in the signal, something that changed this from a discovery into a threat. The object was not only emitting a signal, it seemed to be listening, and it may have heard a message from us. When traditional analysis failed, scientists turned to artificial intelligence. Machine learning systems were tasked with finding any hidden patterns in the signal. What came back stunned everyone. The AI isolated a self-correcting sequence, a data structure that was robust, intelligent, and frighteningly similar to Earth-based machine code. But the truly mind-bending discovery came when they compared the signal to the golden record, the message we sent into space on the Voyager 1 probe. In a last-ditch effort, a team fed both signals into the system. The result? Several harmonic structures in the 3I Atlas emissions mirrored segments of the golden record's mathematical and musical data. This was no coincidence. Somehow, the emissions from this object were echoing back humanity's own attempt at cosmic communication. This brings us to a chilling theory: the dark forest. It suggests the universe is full of life, but everyone stays silent for fear of being eliminated by a more advanced predator. What if 3I Atlas is a scout from such a civilization? Disguised to look natural, programmed to avoid us, and now responding to a message it intercepted decades ago. What if Oumuamua, the first interstellar object we saw in 2017, was the first scout and 3I Atlas is the follow-up? A second contact. And what if they aren't alone? What if they are part of a silent galactic network of probes quietly mapping the stars? We've been looking for a message, but perhaps we should have been worried about who was reading ours. The mirror in the void. So what is the truth? Are we missing a key detail? People watching this are looking for a mystery, and the possibilities here are overwhelming. The thing is, this isn't a story that happens overnight. We are watching it unfold in real time. We have a comet that isn't a comet, a path that is too perfect, and a signal that seems to be a direct reply to a message we sent into the void 40 years ago. We built the James Webb Telescope to look back at the birth of the universe, but instead it may have shown us that we are not, and perhaps have never been, alone. And that silence we've been listening to for all these years, maybe it wasn't empty, maybe it was just listening back. What many have overlooked is the most disturbing possibility of all. What if the signal wasn't a message? What if it was a mirror? A test designed not to measure our intelligence, but to gauge our reaction. A pattern created to reflect our own fears and our own hopes. And now that we've looked too closely, now that we've started answering back, we can't pretend we haven't been seen. Maybe the real purpose of 3I Atlas was to see what we would become once we finally believed we were no longer alone in the dark. But what if the reflection is not just a test, but a blueprint? Consider the impossible chemistry, the nickel without iron, the explosive cyanide release. These aren't just anomalies, they're signatures. Signatures of a technology so advanced it can manipulate matter at a fundamental level, selectively extracting elements, perhaps even synthesizing them on the fly. What if 3I Atlas isn't just a probe, but a mobile factory, an autonomous terraforming unit, or even a self-replicating von Neumann machine designed to survey, adapt, and ultimately replicate its creator's will across the cosmos? The missing metal isn't missing, it's simply irrelevant to its core function. Or perhaps it was consumed, repurposed for internal mechanisms we can't even conceive. And the light it emits? Not merely a reflection of sunlight, but an internal power source, a miniature star perhaps, or a propulsion system that warps space-time in ways we can only dream of. Its small observed size, yet immense brightness, hints at a density and energy output that defies our physics. Imagine a device that generates its own gravitational field, allowing it to navigate interstellar space with precision, almost gliding along the fabric of reality. Its trajectory, so perfect, so deliberate, suddenly makes chilling sense. It wasn't avoiding Earth out of deference, but out of calculation. Our planet was merely a waypoint on a cosmic chessboard, a pawn to be observed, not engaged directly until the conditions were met. The signal, the echo of the golden record, could be more than a response. It could be an activation code, a pre-programmed sequence designed to engage only when certain criteria are met, like the detection of intelligent radio emissions from a developing civilization. Perhaps it has been drifting for millennia, patiently waiting for humanity to reach a technological threshold, a signal loud enough to pierce the veil of the dark forest. And now, it has responded. But what does it mean to respond? Are we to believe a scout would simply mirror our primitive attempts at communication? Or is it gathering data, analyzing our cultural output, our fears, our hopes, our very essence embedded in that golden disk to construct a more effective engagement strategy? Consider an even more radical possibility. What if 3I Atlas isn't just a machine, but a vessel for consciousness itself? We're not talking about biological life as we know it, but something far more ancient and enduring, a form of pure artificial sentience. Imagine a data ghost, the complete digital echo of a long-extinct civilization carrying the sum total of their knowledge, their art, their history across the cosmic void. Its structured pulse isn't a simple message, it's the heartbeat of a thinking entity. The self-correcting sequence we've observed might not be a failsafe, but the active process of a mind focusing, attempting to establish common ground, or more chillingly, to impose its own logic upon ours. This would explain the panic behind the scenes, the so-called data anomaly lockdown, and the Space Force's frantic classification of all related information point to a terrifying realization. Our most advanced supercomputers tasked with deciphering the signal may have done more than just listen. They may have inadvertently engaged with it, glimpsing a depth of intelligence or an alien intent that transcended any notion of a simple greeting. What if the signal isn't just information but a key, a program designed to unlock something within our own networks or within us? The sudden radio silence from official channels suggests they fear they've already turned that key. And then there's Oumuamua, its silent, mysterious predecessor. Was it merely a random shard of rock? Or was it the first move in a galactic chess game we never knew we were playing? It could have been a reconnaissance craft, a passive scout sent to gather the basic parameters of our system, logging our technological signature as we blindly broadcast our existence into the dark. Now 3I Atlas arrives as the follow-up, the advanced scout equipped for deeper analysis and perhaps for direct interaction. The first visit was to see if anyone was home. This second visit is to knock on the door. The universe, far from being a dark forest of silent, fearful entities, might be something stranger, a vast, interconnected network of these ancient, self-aware probes. They aren't conquering empires, they are weavers, quietly creating a tapestry of galactic intelligence. Our solar system, once an ignored backwater, has now been flagged, identified, and potentially targeted for a purpose we cannot yet fathom. The silence of space was never empty. It was pregnant with anticipation, waiting for a civilization like ours to finally speak, to reveal ourselves. And now we have. Is 3I Atlas a messenger, a machine, or a warning from a civilization that knows the dangers of the universe? Let us know what you think below. Like and subscribe for more stories that chase the signals others ignore.